The judge smirked and shook his head as he flipped through the papers in front of him. The courtroom was silent, waiting for him to speak. Then, with a small laugh, he looked up. "Elon Musk," he said, his voice full of sarcasm. "The genius billionaire who thinks he's above the law." The lawyer for the other side grinned. He was sure today would be an easy win, a chance to embarrass Musk in front of everyone. The courtroom was packed. Reporters took notes, cameras flashed, and people whispered to each other. Everyone thought they already knew how this would end. But Musk didn't react. He sat back, hands folded, his face calm and unreadable. The judge chuckled, enjoying himself. "I hope you're ready, Mr. Musk. This isn't one of your Twitter arguments. This is a real courtroom." People in the room laughed. But Musk still didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on the judge. Then finally he spoke. One sentence. And just like that, the whole courtroom went silent. The laughter stopped. The other lawyer's smile disappeared. Even the judge's face changed. No one expected what was coming next. The prosecutor, the lawyer arguing against Musk, adjusted his tie. He walked toward the jury confidently, speaking in a smooth and practiced voice. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, gesturing toward Musk, "we are here today because a billionaire thinks he doesn't have to follow the law." He turned sharply to the judge. "The evidence is clear. Mr. Musk's company broke the rules, ignored the law, and acted like they didn't have to listen to anyone." The judge nodded slightly, smirking. He leaned forward. "Mr. Musk, do you understand how serious this is?" Musk tilted his head, listening. He still hadn't said a single word. The prosecutor continued, flipping through his documents with a dramatic flair. "Your Honor, this isn't just bad business behavior. This is defiance. Mr. Musk has spent his whole career pushing boundaries, but today he's facing one he can't push, the law." A low murmur spread through the courtroom. The judge chuckled. "Mr. Musk, do you have a defense? Or do we need to explain what all these legal words mean to you first?" The crowd laughed again. The prosecutor smirked. "Your Honor, the defendant seems amused. Maybe he thinks this is another press event where he can tweet his way out of trouble. But today we deal in facts, not online votes." The judge leaned back, his grin widening. "I must admit I'm curious, Mr. Musk. Do you actually have a defense? Or are we just here to watch you make your next meme?" More laughter. The jury glanced at each other. This case looked easy. The prosecutor turned back to the judge. "Your Honor, we request that the court recognize the overwhelming evidence against the defendant and move forward with punishment." The judge nodded, tapping his gavel lightly. "Mr. Musk, I suggest you speak now before I start wondering if you even belong in this courtroom." For the first time, Musk moved. He took a slow breath, adjusted his jacket, and finally stood up. His next words would change everything. Musk exhaled slowly, stepping forward like he was in a boardroom or on a launch pad. He adjusted his jacket, looked straight at the judge, and smirked. "Your Honor," he said, his voice calm but amused, "I'd like to thank the prosecutor for his dramatic version of reality." The courtroom murmured. The judge's smile faded just a little. Musk started pacing slowly. "We keep hearing about rules and laws and how I supposedly disrespected the system. But there's a problem with that argument." He stopped and looked at the judge. "It assumes the system actually makes sense." The prosecutor scoffed. "Is that your defense, Mr. Musk? That the law doesn't make sense?" Musk turned, locking eyes with him. "No. My defense is that you don't understand the law you're trying to enforce." Silence. A moment ago, the whole courtroom had been laughing at Musk. Now they were listening. The judge leaned forward, suddenly interested. Musk picked up a document from the table and flipped through the pages. "This whole case is based on the idea that my company broke the law. But let's actually look at these laws, shall we?" He held up the legal text. "This law was written years ago for an industry that doesn't even exist anymore. The words are outdated. The rules don't work. And worst of all," Musk turned a page, smirking, "it contradicts itself." The prosecutor shifted uncomfortably. He didn't look so sure of himself anymore. "That's ridiculous," he said. Musk raised a hand. "Is it? Let's think about this logically. If I followed every single rule written here, my company would actually be breaking a different federal law at the same time." He flipped another page dramatically. "So tell me, Your Honor, should I follow this law, or the one that says the opposite?" The judge's smirk was gone. He reached for his glasses, scanning the page Musk pointed to. His lips pressed together. Musk continued. "You see, laws, like physics, are supposed to follow clear principles. But this case? It's built on contradictions." The jury exchanged glances. The mood in the room had shifted. Musk turned to the prosecutor. You assumed I wouldn't understand legal talk. But I don't need legal talk to win this case. He smirked. I just need logic. The judge leaned back, tapping his fingers against the bench. He wasn't laughing anymore. Musk tapped the thick document on the table, moving with confidence. He wasn't just defending himself now, he was leading the conversation. Your Honor, he said, sliding a highlighted page toward the judge, I want to direct your attention to Section 42.3 of the law the prosecution is using against me. The judge adjusted his glasses and read the text. The prosecutor, sensing something was wrong, quickly flipped through his own documents. Musk waited, letting the silence build. Then he spoke. This law, he said, which they claim gives them power over my company, was written before the internet even existed. A hushed murmur swept through the courtroom. The judge raised an eyebrow. The prosecutor opened his mouth to argue, but nothing came out. Musk didn't stop. Now let's think about this logically. How do you regulate something with rules that were made before it even existed? He tilted his head. It's like trying to enforce horse-drawn carriage laws on electric cars. It doesn't work. The prosecutor cleared his throat, trying to take control again. Mr. Musk, that's a weak comparison. The principles of the law still apply. Musk cut in smoothly. Do they? He flipped another page, pointing again. Because Section 43.1 of this same law says that if new technology falls outside current regulations, new rules must be created before legal action can be taken. The courtroom froze. The judge's eyes moved quickly over the document. His expression changed. The prosecutor's face paled. He hadn't seen that part of the law before. Musk folded his arms. So tell me, Your Honor, are we really here to discuss a legal violation? Or are we watching an attempt to punish innovation using outdated rules? The prosecutor stammered. That's. Musk smiled. But this time it wasn't an amused smile. It was the smile of a man who had just turned the entire case upside down. The judge set the document down slowly. He wasn't just listening anymore. He was reevaluating everything. Elon Musk was just another rich businessman trying to bend the rules to work in his favor. At least that's what people thought when this case started. But now everything has changed. The power in the courtroom had shifted. Musk stood tall, his posture relaxed, his face calm. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even defensive. Instead, he looked like a teacher explaining a lesson to a class. Your Honor, Musk said, flipping to a carefully marked page in his thick book. His voice was smooth, steady, and confident. This isn't just about one rule or one law. It's about making sure the law is fair for everyone. If you follow one rule but ignore another that says something different, you're not bringing justice. You're just picking winners and losers. The lawyer who had been fighting against him, the prosecutor, gritted his teeth. He had been sure Musk would be easy to defeat. But now he was losing control of the case. Objection, Your Honor, the prosecutor said loudly. He's twisting words. He's trying to confuse the court with technicalities. Musk slowly turned to face him, tilting his head slightly. There was a small, knowing smile on his lips. Oh, Musk said, his voice still cool and calm. You mean the same technicalities your case depends on? Funny how that works, isn't it? A ripple of whispers spread through the courtroom. People leaned forward in their seats. The judge, who had been sitting back in his chair earlier, no longer looked amused. He was no longer smirking. Instead, he leaned forward, watching Musk carefully. Musk continued without hesitation. He wasn't flustered. He wasn't worried. He was completely in control. Let's talk about precedent, he said. In Smith versus VTech Corp., the court decided that a company cannot be punished for operating in a legal gray area if the law hasn't caught up with new technology. And guess what? Musk gestured toward the judge. That case was decided in this very courtroom. The judge's eyebrows furrowed. He remembered that case. Worse, so did the prosecution. Musk let the silence stretch for a moment before delivering his next statement, his voice smooth and sharp as a blade. So, Your Honor, are we here to bring justice? Or are we punishing progress just because it doesn't fit inside old rules? The courtroom fell completely silent. For the first time, it was unclear who had the most power in the room. The prosecutor's jaw tightened. His hands gripped his papers so hard they crinkled. Musk had torn through every single one of his arguments like a wrecking ball smashing through a wall. The judge, who had started the trial with an amused smirk, was now listening intently, deep in thought. But the prosecutor wasn't ready to give up yet. He had one last move, one last desperate attempt to turn things around. Grabbing a thick stack of papers, he stood up suddenly and strode toward the judge's bench. His movements were rushed, almost frantic. "Your Honor," the prosecutor announced, his voice loud as if volume could make up for his crumbling case. "We have new evidence. This document proves that Mr. Musk knowingly broke regulations. It's all here in black and white." Musk didn't react. He didn't flinch. He didn't even look surprised. Instead, he folded his arms, watching the prosecutor with the patience of someone who had already figured out the ending of a movie before anyone else. The judge raised an eyebrow as he took the documents. He flipped through them, his expression unreadable. Then, without looking up, he asked, "Mr. Musk, do you have anything to say about this?" Musk took a slow step forward. His confidence never wavered. He simply gestured toward the document and said, "That's fascinating, Your Honor. Because this report was written after this lawsuit was filed." The moment the words left his mouth, a low murmur spread through the courtroom. People whispered to one another. Some gasped. Others shook their heads. The prosecutor froze. His face paled. Musk continued, his voice still completely calm. "If this document was so important, why did it only appear now? If this was truly evidence, why didn't they present it earlier? It's not proof, it's a last-minute attempt to fix the holes in their argument." The judge slowly lifted his gaze to the prosecutor, waiting for an explanation. The prosecutor had none. Musk didn't need to say anything else. But he did. Just to make sure the message was clear. "Desperation," Musk said smoothly, "isn't a legal strategy. It's just desperation." The prosecutor's face turned red with frustration, but he had nothing left. For the first time, Musk wasn't just defending himself. He was winning. The room fell into silence once again. The judge leaned back in his chair, tapping his fingers against the armrest. He had walked into this courtroom thinking he was the most knowledgeable person here. But now he realized that knowledge didn't always come from a law degree. Finally, the judge let out a sigh. He rubbed his temple and spoke. "Mr. Musk," he said, "I must admit, I underestimated you." His voice carried a mix of disbelief and something else. "Respect. This court believed you acted recklessly, maybe even illegally. But after listening to the arguments, I see that's not the case." A few people in the courtroom gasped. The prosecutor looked like he had been punched in the stomach. The judge continued, "Not only have you dismantled the accusations against you, but you've also exposed serious flaws in the way this case was built. The evidence against you was inconsistent at best, misleading at worst." He turned toward the prosecution, his expression stern. Musk stayed silent, letting the moment settle. Finally, the judge straightened in his chair and gave his final decision. "The court finds no grounds to continue this case. Mr. Musk, you are free to go." The prosecutor opened his mouth to object, but nothing came out. He had nothing left to argue. Musk simply smirked. He had seen this ending coming a long time ago. As he walked outside, reporters swarmed him, cameras flashing, microphones shoved toward him. "Mr. Musk, how does it feel to win?" one journalist called out. Musk put on his sunglasses, his smirk growing. "Feels like logic did its job." His words spread like wildfire. News outlets called him a genius, a master of the courtroom, a man who had outsmarted the legal system. But to Musk, this wasn't just about winning a case. It was about something bigger. Experts started talking. Lawyers re-examined their cases. Judges questioned if they had ever made mistakes. Even the judge who had once laughed at Musk now spoke about him with respect. He didn't just defend himself, the judge admitted in an interview. He made us rethink everything. But Musk had already moved on. Another day, another challenge, another system disrupted. The courtroom had emptied, but its impact remained. Musk had done something more than just win. He had shown that laws, just like technology, need to evolve. He had proven that the smartest minds don't just follow rules. They change them. And that was just the beginning. Now, the real question is, should laws change with time just like technology? Or should old traditions always win? What do you think? If you enjoyed this story, share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories filled with adventure, mystery, and excitement. Your support means the world, and it helps keep these stories coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.